Hey. Welcome back to Mark's NOTCAST. It's been about a week since I've done one of these. Number 489. Today is the 27th of April, 2026. It does feel like April's had something like 542 days in it. I don't know what your experience of April is like, but this one seems particularly long. But as Indiana Jones said, it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. Or maybe he didn't use the word honey, I don't know. He also said part-time, so it doesn't really, you shouldn't really be taking life advice from him. In a bit of an update, you may notice it looks a little bit different around here. I've done a little bit of reorganization around the back. I've changed, this is really exciting stuff. Changed shades and lights and lamps and things like that. So I'm going to be doing, instead of one of my normal kind of, I'm talking about a band and a period and how that lines into my life and all that type of stuff. Today, I'm going for my random record rummage. And the reason being, my brain is very tired and it's been doing a lot of things. It's been carrying a lot of stuff. And there's some big things going on, and I'm hoping to be able to announce one of those in a couple of weeks, and some other things which will be, unfold in the fullness of time, both in and out of work. And it's just a tired brain, and I need to think about something else for a little bit, and I can't be necessarily doing the stuff which sometimes I do, which is to read off a sheet of paper 400 facts about a band, and then for one person somewhere to go, but you got one thing wrong. And it's like, these are not academic papers that are fully referenced. This is a guy talking to his phone about things. And of course, it's important to have your memory, but your memory can tell you lies. Well, certainly some people's can, can't it? Talking of those, well, actually, let's not. It's a positive space. I think that, in some small way, whatever you do, you should bring a positive thing to the world. And some people definitely don't. And I'm going to try and put some positive vibes out there. So just feel like that little gif of the cat that's vibrating. So the random record rummage involves an army of child slaves. Actually, that's not strictly true. Just one, and he's not really a child anymore. Picking an album and a book and a CD and a DVD and a 7-inch and some other stuff, and seeing what goes in there. So let's go into the book, well, the bag of goodies. Let's see what's going to happen, shall we? By the miracles of stop motion. Right, let's go into the bag and see what there is. So there's a book. I can see a DVD. I'm going to go for the DVD first. Remember, I don't know what these are until I bring them out, and sometimes you know what they are more than I do. Right, Marathon Man. So this is the DVD choice. This is an 18 rating, which for a film made in about 1976 is quite a strong thing. I really like this film, but I really don't. Is it safe? And it's a strange film. There was a subgenre of films about Nazis that survived the Second World War, whilst mankind as a whole was dealing with the fact that, hey, we had Nazis and stuff, and that's a pretty kind of terrifying kind of place to be at various points in life. Living in the current world, 2026, and you can kind of see how Nazis happened, because you can see the rise of fascism in certain countries and the refutation of fascism by the residents of some of those countries as well over time, assuming they get a chance to have a democratic election. And that's one of the reasons why I think dictators hate democracy, because they know people would never choose to be oppressed by dictators. And I'm thinking very specifically about the way in which I think the people kind of told Ceausescu that they didn't like him by killing him. And ultimately what goes up must come down. Everything has a day. A Marathon Man is a very interesting psychological thriller that mines the same kind of furrow of the mid-70s that we had with things like the Quillen Memorandum, which I think was the late 60s, and the Odessa File and the Boys from Brazil. And to an extent, that lesser-known film about what happened to Nazis after the end of the Second World War, The Right Stuff, where we have effectively, Laurence Olivier, who, by the way, is fantastic. This is before he was making crap like Inchon, and I think he played Hess in Wild Geese 2, of all things. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think he did. And this, look at this, extra features. Well, 1976 it says on there, so that must be when it came out. But it's I'm going to read here: a likable graduate student and marathon runner of the same time. Is it a sequel to The Graduate? Oh, wouldn't that be weird? And unwillingly trapped in a killing game of intrigue involving a Nazi fugitive who turns dental instruments into tools of torture with dispassionate ease. I have to watch this again because it really is quite a film indeed. But it's not a pleasant one. It absolutely is not a pleasant one at all. So that is something which I'm going to have to put on my to-be-watched pile. I think it's been a while since I've seen it. Right, let's go for number 2. And this is The Abyss by Orson Scott Card. I think I've mentioned this one before. My decision to buy this, and that reminds me, I need to find the novelisation to a Star Trek film because I'm missing one of them. I don't think it's by Alan Dean Foster either. That's a shocker. Orson Scott Card wrote the novel for this, which I think was, I think he might have written this to match the film as opposed to, so Orson Scott Card, who did Seventh Son, by the way, in here, which inspired Iron Maiden's fantastic 7th album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Also wrote Ender's Game, which you may have heard of from such films of the same title. This is a novelisation to what I regard to be one of James Cameron's best and most underappreciated films. I have not read it yet. I am going to read it. I am rereading all the movie novelisations I had as a kid, and that is just the way it is. So next up we have, this is an interesting choice. The singles remix bootleg double CD of the Prodigy. CD 1 is called We Are the Roughest, and that is a selection of B-sides and non-album tracks, including, lots of songs really. And then CD 2 is remixes, and that's remixes of Firestarter, No Good, Out of Space, Smack My Bitch Up, Rough in the Jungle, Voodoo People. This is not an official release by XL Records, no matter what it tells you. It was made out to look like an official recording. It absolutely, definitely wasn't. And it's just a compilation of Prodigy B-sides and singles tracks and remixes and things like that from 1997, when the Prodigy had just released the Firestarter song. And it is really quite okay, I guess. There's a stall that sometimes I go to that has bootleg CDs that are very cheap, like £3, and I buy them. So this is, again, a way of me not buying lots of CD singles and getting lots of non-album tracks on the dirt cheap, really. And, I mean, people go, oh, well, what's the point? Why don't you just download it, stream it? I've been accused of being financially incautious for buying things with my own money. Things that I want to own that I can afford and can justify spending money on. And, it's really nobody's business, is it? It's not as if I'm buying super expensive cars or got a gambling habit or something. I buy CDs. It's a museum of mass-produced modern art that sits behind me, and that is really it. There's nothing further to it than that. I like music. Music was the thing that showed me where I was in the world. It provided a map when I felt I was lost, and it provided a friend when I was lonely, and it still does to this day. And I think it will do, because a record collection is not just for Christmas, it is for life. And that's Crunchy Guitars. Crunchy Guitars aren't just for adolescents, they're for life as well. I know, I just bought it, really, because I looked at it and thought, I'm never going to see that again. If I am, it's certainly not going to be three Earth pounds human. So I bought that and went for it. So that's my CD. I haven't got a huge amount to say about the project, apart from that I I felt very displeased when I saw the Prodigy at Alexandra Palace in 2015. It was the first time I'd seen them, and they played for 74 minutes, which, given that the tickets were £57, I spent longer getting home than the gig, a lot longer. And I thought, well, I'll go and see them and I'll see what they're like. And I understand, some bands you go and see live and you go, they're incredible. I need to see them all the time. And I'm thinking particularly about Erasure, Underworld, bands like that, pardon me, where they may not necessarily change the set, but it's a good, decent length experience. It's all killer, no filler. But the Prodigy was just all killer, no filler, but just wasn't anything beyond that. It was all just hits, and there's a time and a place for that. Like, you see Depeche Mode, the last 75 minutes, wall-to-wall bangers. AC/DC, all of it, wall-to-wall bangers. The Prodigy, wall-to-wall bangers. But AC/DC was over 2 hours. Depeche Mode was over 2 hours. Prodigy was done in an hour and a quarter. And I'm going, well, the drum machine isn't getting tired, so why not play for longer? Why not play more songs? And I know that when I was younger, in the 1991, Morrissey was contracted to do 60 minutes and his set list was 61 minutes. But also he was only touring two and a half albums at that point. So, Prodigy were 25 years in and it just felt skimpy. It's like, what are you doing that's so important that you can't play an extra 15 minutes of material? If you come on at 9:15, finish by 10:30. You come on at 8:45, you finish by 10 p.m. I mean, Suede play at least an hour and a half, and that 15 minutes really does make the difference because it focuses it, but also it allows some rotation of the songs. Oasis, couple of hours, sure, great stuff. It was an intense, but it wasn't long enough. There wasn't enough of it. There's an implicit thing in the social contract when you're in a band, and that implicit thing is that the product or service you will receive will justify the expense that you have in receiving that product or service. And to me, I didn't get £57.50 worth of the Prodigy there. They're on for 75 minutes. That's about like £1 a minute, near enough, isn't it? And if you play a 3-hour show, then sure, that's going to cost you 200 quid on that kind of economy. Or maybe, £200, maybe 175. And having seen David Gilmour play for 2.5 hours at the Royal Albert Hall, sure, that was a bit more than 57.50, but also it was an 80-year-old man who has been in Pink Floyd, who's made 17 or 21 albums and played for 2.5 hours. Nobody felt shortchanged through that show because it was an hour longer. And even though, yes, David Gilmour isn't jumping up and down screaming about being a fucking fire starter at the top of his voice, what he is doing is he's playing material. People are feeling like they're getting their money's worth out of it. They're getting the experience. No one sat there and going, yeah, but they didn't play this and they didn't play that and they didn't play any, and I was like, that's how I felt when I saw the Prodigy. I felt shortchanged. And it's a shame because I wanted to enjoy it. And obviously Keith is now dead, so I won't get a chance to see the Prodigy again in that form. And I don't feel any need to, really. The one time I saw them was quite disappointing. So we're going to go a bit further in and we're going to go for a BluRay. And the BluRay it's a slimline case. I don't know what it is. It's upside down and back to front. Right, it is Prey. Prey's really, really good. Really good. Really enjoyed it. Because I think that this is the type of stuff that Disney does particularly well, is things that explore and expand the universe that we're in. Not crap like The Rise of Skywalker, but things like Prey, which is, and this, if I remember correctly, is in, I have to check, I think Comanche is one of the languages that it's in, although I've definitely pronounced that incorrectly. It's an action thriller set in the Comanche Nation, in which Naru, a fierce and highly skilled young warrior, sets out to protect her people against a highly evolved alien predator. And that's got some really fascinating moments in it, actually, as a concept. Because remember, the prey can land anywhere. It can do anything. and this is we also saw. Oh, sorry, we also saw in Predator, the most recent film, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it has some advantages to it. In the Predator universe, and this is where I think Ghostbusters went wrong, is you can have Ghostbusters set in every country in the world. You can have a Ghostbusters Finland, you can have a Ghostbusters Australia, for example. You have a Ghostbusters London. Richard Iodi is almost definitely going to be one of the Ghostbusters in that, and Matt Berry, of course. That'd be a fantastic cast, wouldn't it? Those type of things. But what you instead have is, with Predator, is it was like, well, we're going to go to New York. We're going to go to a random American town in the middle of nowhere. No, why not have the Predator go back and take out the Comanche Nation, who are or people from the Comanche Nation? Why not have the Predator kind of target, let's say, big game hunters, people in the Finnish outback, for example, that type of stuff? That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Go and I was going to say go and take out a ton of Marines that were in a jungle mission. I think that one's been done. It was like Die Hard on a boat, Speed 2, cruise control, that type of thing. But no, Prey is a really good film. I really like it because it takes the idea and it goes in a direction you wouldn't necessarily expect it to go into. And sometimes that's good, like Prey, and sometimes it's bad, like The Bourne Legacy, where suddenly you go, why have we got Jeremy Renner pretending to be Jason Bourne? Because the franchise is named after a person and not the name of the program. The program isn't called The Bourne anything. It's called, I think, Treadstone. What are you playing at here? Why are you doing it? So praise, yeah, but definitely a superior sequel. It's up there with Happy Death Day 2U and Final Destination Bloodlines, which I think is an absolute hoot. Okay, 7-inch time. Let's go for the 7-inch. I don't know what this is. I'm going to guess it's a picture sleeve. And oh, okay. So Sex Pistols. Oh dear. Yeah, that bit. Let's go for that side instead. So this is Something Else, sung by the Sid Vicious, and Friggin' in the Rigging. And this is from the Sex Pistols after Johnny Rotten had left the band, and I don't like this period of the band at all. I have the singles because I think I bought them all from Rockaboom in Leicester for 10 pence each in about 1991, and I thought, a Sex Pistols single for 10p, yeah, all right, I'll buy that. Take the price sticker off that. But this is, and I didn't really know, because in these days you could look it up and you could go, right, so it's definitely after Johnny Rotten had left. Sid Vicious is singing Johnny Cochran's Something Else, and then Steve Jones is singing a song called Frigging in the Rigging, which is just awful. And it's the worst parts of the Sex Pistols, the bits that thought that, if you offend somebody, you swear a bit, and you're a bit. And it's like, for me, the thing that made the Pistols magical, the thing that made the Pistols amazing, absolutely wasn't the it wasn't the fury, it wasn't the about it. It was the eloquence in screaming that came from Johnny Rotten. It was the sense that there was a deeply moral, ethical way of looking at the world and refuting a world that had been created by adults with power for their own advantage. And certainly as a a teenager, which was when I first heard the Pistols. I first heard the Pistols as an extension of Pill, and I first heard Pill, I think, probably 1988, 1989, maybe around about the time that Disappointed and Warrior came out. I had no baggage about the Sex Pistols. I had no idea who they were, because they weren't on telly or anything. So I was like, right, so this band with this really interesting frontman who did these weird, kind of obtuse kind of versions of rock music that came from a different angle, specifically 1986's album, which is a brilliant record. And I'm actually a big fan of later Pill as well. I don't think Pill ever had a truly moribund area, apart from possibly about 1983 when they were doing Commercial Zone, and they did those live shows with that backup band. Not a great backup band, but when they were doing those, and for me, my route into the Pistols was interest in the band that the guy that sang in Pill used to be in, and the articulacy of Johnny Rotten and the way in which he used melody and the way in which he used the verisimilitude of his voice to present himself. And I just thought, that's the lightning rod. The rest of the band might be a storm, but sometimes you need the lightning to make it work. Otherwise, it's just rain. And for me, the magic thing about the Pistols was Johnny Rotten as the both, the leader, the moral voice, and the person that gave the rest of it direction. So the Pistols were like this amazing engine in a car. Steve Jones's riffs were fantastic. Glenn Matlock's bass, very good. Sid Vicious's bass, not so good. And Cookie on drums, Paul Cook, great band. Those three people, and then Johnny Rotten somehow as being like, just one of the best frontmen of all time, being very determined, very individual, extremely stubborn, doesn't suffer fools gladly. And, in certain environments, that's a real recipe for disaster. So I'm thinking about, for example, if you have somebody who's extremely argumentative, but they're argumentative without having a point, they're just an arsehole, Whereas somebody who's argumentative because they've thought through and they've articulated their view, they've got an opinion about their view, and they know why they're saying the things that they're saying, it then becomes somebody that thinks their voice is as valid as anybody else's in the room and is challenging established kind of knowledge or authority, as opposed to just arguing with everybody just for the sake of it. There's a discrimination of thought and an application of thought in that degree of resistance, as opposed to, pardon me, sometimes the pure blind rebellion that you have. And blind rebellion is as pointless as blind conformity. It absolutely is. You have to have a point of discrimination and a point of being values-led around that. And that's why, for me, Johnny Rotten is one of the best frontmen of all time, is that he was the lightning rod down which everything snaked and focused and nothing else really worked. And of course, he'd left the band at the point that the band released Something Else, which I'm going to, of course, obscure appropriately with a finger, obscure the not lovely image there, which has been appropriated by idiots, and this, the frigging and the rigging. It's okay, I guess, but it's B-sides, isn't it? It's B-sides and filler tracks from this period, which is the great rock and roll swindle. Right, let's see what else there is there. I think there's just an LP in here. This is going to be, and I've already seen what this is, but I am not going to articulate it too closely. This is Manic Street Preachers, Generation Terrorists. It's the 2025 repressing, which, if I remember correctly, is on hot pink vinyl. Maybe I should pronounce that like Matt Berry. Hot pink vinyl. So I had an original vinyl copy of this from 1992 that I bought for £6.99 because that was the cheapest way to get the songs on it, and I was a music consumer, not a record collector. And I still am, despite what you may have heard, read, or been told. And this comes on a hot pink coloured vinyl there, which is a bit marbly, a bit splattery. Oh God, that is quite nice, isn't it? That is really nice. Actually, I really like that. I'd forgotten that it was a bit splattery there. It's also good to have a copy that I can play that is extremely, very bloody loud indeed, because my other version, the 1992 version, black vinyl, is a bit scratchy, it's a bit battered, it's been quite a lot loved over the years. It's definitely, to use a phrase, been in the wars. This version was released on National Album Day on the 14th of June 2025, last year, for HMV, where you could spend money through HMV and you could get an exclusive edition of the album. And of course, Generation Terrorist is, it's a very expensive record for me, because after this, it means that I then have to go and buy all the Manics albums. As an album, it is too long. It has too many songs on it. It's not amazing in every respect. Damn Dog is on there and it shouldn't be on there. There's too many drum machines and not enough drummers. Not a phrase I'll often say. But also the American version features overdub drums by, I think, the guy that ended up playing drums for Bowie towards the end. It could be Sterling Campbell, could be the other drummer whose name I've forgotten, who is fantastic. I could look it up, but I cannot be bothered. This is a wonderfully ambitious debut album. It features some of the best songs in the band's body of work, including Motorcycle Emptiness, Little Baby Nothing, Stay Beautiful. I'm a big fan of Nat West Barclay's Midlands Lloyds. Not so much a big fan of Love Sweet Exile. It's a great place to start, but it is not by any means the best album the band ever made. But it is where it all began, and I'm glad that I've got a copy that I can play, love, and listen to regularly after having that scratchy copy for 33 long years. And I remember buying this from the HMV in Birmingham before getting a train up to Scotland to see a friend of mine. And a good thing that I booked the train for 10 o'clock so I could get this at 9. I just turned up, and they said, what are you looking for? I went Manic Street Preachers, and they got one. It's a picture of me holding this, which is on HMV Birmingham's Instagram about a year ago. It's not worth scrolling all that way back for, but it's good to be in there. And that is that. So this is my random record rummage. Obviously, we've got a couple of films there, both good ones, recommendations. A 7-inch single, not really recommended. The CD, that's okay. And a book I've not read, but I definitely love the film. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for watching this. If you've made it to the end of this, there will be other ones to come, probably about once a week. But in the meantime, have a good time all the time. Take care of yourselves and each other. Stay beautiful, beautiful ones. Any other catchphrases I haven't mentioned yet? I don't know. But hopefully that's been interesting to you. And if it hasn't, there are always videos about the Beatles you can watch, because there's no shortage of videos about the Beatles on YouTube or anywhere else. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't done anything about the Beatles. Not because I don't think I've got something to say, because I think I've got a new perspective on the Beatles, which you don't often hear. Not because I don't think that it wouldn't be interesting. It'd be interesting to really get down to the nuts and bolts of the Beatles' enormous kind of discography, but because there's always somebody that's going to be much, much, much better at you, and will never miss a chance to tell you how much better than you they are at things. And well, I hate those guys because there's nothing as well. Being big-headed just isn't an attractive character trait, is it? Now, you might think I'm big-headed. I'm not. There are things I'm good at. There are things I'm not good at. I play to my strengths and not my weaknesses, which means I never drive, because I've seen my driving. My driving is atrocious, and I wouldn't want to inflict it upon anybody else on the planet, especially not my insurers. And with that, I'm going to wrap up and leave you to it. And I'm going to kind of do this thing where I go in on there. And, oh, look, that's far more exciting than looking at my face, isn't it? Look at that lovely colour vinyl. There you go. When you sniff it, yeah, the touch the label. Oof, I don't do any of that. Music, this is a music delivery system. It's nice, it's attractive, it's fine, it's a lovely colour. But more importantly, it doesn't mean anything unless the music means something to you. If the music means something to you, then everything all makes sense and it means something. Otherwise, you're just collecting stuff. And if you're going to collect stuff, well, fine. Go ahead. Just let me buy the records that I like, that mean something to me. I don't buy things because they're rare. I don't buy things because I could flip them on eBay, unlike a certain person I saw rifling through the charity shop and sticking everything on Discogs to work out what was worth his 50p or not. The really annoying man. In fact, probably I go so far as to call my charity shop Nemesis last week. None of that. It doesn't matter. If the music doesn't mean anything to you, leave it on the shelf. Let somebody else buy it and let somebody else love it. That's the thing that matters, isn't it? Because music, is a mass-produced form of modern art, and it allows us to see the world in different ways, and hopefully will expand our brains and our hearts and make us love better and more than ways than we have before. And love is really, really important. It's always important to be as positive as you can be in this world. And not everybody understands what love really is. So with that, it feels a bit like a sermon. Am I bugging you? I don't mean to bug you. Okay, Edge, play the blues. See you later. Adios, amigos.